Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hello there, and welcome to episode 7 of In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am your host and guide as we talk with women of all walks of life about how they connect with and live by their inner voice. This is powerful stuff, you guys. And today on the podcast, I'm interviewing my very good friend, Heidi Symonds, aka the Healthy Godmother. And you are just going to love our conversation. A few of the things we talk about that I was like totally digging was this idea of flow and grace as we move from thing to thing, as we move and make changes and transitions in our life. We talked about the importance of being resilient and how we can fortify and work on that resiliency. We had a really cool discussion about masculine versus feminine qualities and how really in today's world we're seeing the importance of the feminine rising up, and we have to balance out those qualities in ourselves and also in the world. And that's really what this podcast in general is about too, is really connecting to all of who you are, the masculine and the feminine, and really using that wisdom that's inside of you to live your best life and to make an impact in this world. We talk about what it means to nourish, what it means to nourish yourself, and what it means to nourish others. And Heidi talks about this amazing gratitude practice that she has. That's at the end. You guys definitely make it all the way to there because you aren't going to want to miss that. So her official title is Certified Integrative Nutrition Holistic Health Coach. But I give a really great introduction right before our interview starts. I do want to mention that you can find Heidi at thehealthygodmother.com, and that's where you can connect with her and learn about what she does and what services she provides, but we do talk about that in the interview. So we are going to get right to that. Here is Heidi Symonds. I would like to introduce you all to my very, very good friend, Heidi Symonds, aka the Healthy Godmother. I just want to tell you a little bit about Heidi. I've known her now for almost 3 years. Is that right, Heidi? Almost 3 years?
Yeah, it'll be 3 years in July.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Heidi is one of these kind of people that the instant that you meet her, you feel loved and taken care of. And let me just tell you that she is a primetime nourisher. That is what she has been called to do. And that's what she does through her website at thehealthygodmother.com. And I'm so excited to sit down with her and just to let her shower her love onto you so you can learn from her, so you can hear about what she's doing. And welcome to In Her Voice podcast, Heidi.
Thanks, Kelly.
You are welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, me too. I have been looking forward to this ever since you sent the ask. So I'm sitting here with my chia chai latte and nourishing myself up so that we can have a cozy conversation.
Wonderful. So I want to dive right in. If you could tell us about a moment in your life when you realized how connecting with your inner voice was really going to change the trajectory of your life. What did that feel like? What did that look like for you?
You don't mess around.
No, we're going
right in.
Uh-huh.
The moment that, gosh, I think, there's so many. I don't know that I could say that there's like one one moment that it was like, oh, that there are those all the time. Like, I feel like that's how I kind of walk through life. I knew as a little kid when I would see little girls that were less fortunate and didn't have mittens, and I could feel, I'm a highly sensitive person, and I feel their cold, shrunken up, shivering little fingers, and it broke my heart. And I would bring them home and love on them and feed them. And my mom would often, bathe them because, they came from, broken homes and things like that. And so I knew then that I had a thing for nourishing people. The spiritual connection that I have to it all. I knew that when I grew up Catholic, and we had CCD, and all of my friends hated it, and I loved it. I loved going to church school. And while I no longer practice Catholicism, that was where I learned how to talk to God. And that is where I learned sort of the structure and the ebb and the flow of the Mass. And that brings me such comfort. And I knew that there was something a little different there because nobody else wanted to do that. So I don't know. I think that I knew it when I had been in a 12-step program for food because I struggled with these tools because I'm a highly sensitive person and I like to dull the edges sometimes more than I should. And when I left that 12-step program, and because it wasn't a sustainable lifestyle, and I was kind of in a free fall and like not sure what to do, and how do I use food to nourish and not hurt myself. And, I was trying different things and various programs and all the other things that are out there. And my husband kept saying, "You're a really smart woman. You can figure this out." And over and over and over again, he told it to me. And finally I believed him one day and I just started doing the work. And I knew it when I would see people that I hadn't seen in a while, or people from that very same 12-step program that were either still there or not there. And they saw a certain glow about me and they would say, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you back in program?" And I said, "No, I'm kind of doing my own thing." And they were like, "Oh, well, can we have coffee? I'd love to learn more about what you're doing." And I had sort of that light that sort of attracted, like moth to a flame, and people saw it and they wanted to know more. And when we would meet for coffee, they would come with their little notebook and a pen and they'd say, "Okay, what's the meal plan?" And there is no meal plan, really. It's about so much more than just a meal plan. And they're like blank face that was on the other end. And, the work that I was doing. And it was hard to articulate. And I knew when I found the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, when I saw that this was actually the four corners, that the reason that people don't make good choices to take care of themselves, it's hard to do that when you have a job that you hate and you come home to a puking cat and you're watching Sex and the City reruns, waiting for the man of your dreams to drop out of your living room ceiling while you're eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream and oatmeal cream pie, Little Debbie's. You can't make good choices from that place. And so I learned that when you put pieces and add in love and nourishment and self-care, and you dig underneath the surface and you look at the stuff and you pick it up and you cry and you process it and you yoga it and you flow it and you qigong it, and then you look at it again and then you pick it up and you do the work, you feel better, you have more incentive to take care of yourself. And when I found the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, it was like a package that was like, yes, it's a holistic approach. It's not just counting points. It's not just counting calories. It's not just beating the crap out of myself on an elliptical machine, getting to a certain number of thousands of calories burnt, and burning my adrenal glands out. It's soft and feminine and beautiful and compassionate, and learning to talk to that little girl inside of me and welcoming her back into my being. And then having a friend, coach, mentor on New Year's Eve Snapchat me. She's like, "I'm getting a hit. You're the healthy godmother." And it was like, yes. And that allowed me to step into myself. And every time I challenge myself and push myself outside of my comfort zone to reach for something that I know I am here to do and pursue, I step into myself even more. And the more I step into myself and the quieter I get and the more I detach from the outcome and the more I step out of the way, the more I can hear her and see her and value her and believe what my very dear friend and coach and worthy mentor told me the day that we met. That I am worthy, even if I didn't do another thing or lose another pound or help another person or bake another anything, that I am enough.
So enough. Oh my gosh, Heidi, that is just beautiful. I mean, I feel like we could end the podcast right now, 8 minutes in. Okay, we're done. You've learned everything that you need to learn to move forward. But I want to dig into some of this a little bit more. There was so much there. But I think what was really interesting to me is you talk about doing the work, and that's flowing, and that's understanding, and that's processing. You listed out all of those things. What I want to know is, for you, how do you feel when you're in it? You know what I mean? When you're in the work, when you're doing the work versus when you're out of it. How do you know that you're where you're supposed to be?
It's an overall connection to earth. It's an overall balance. It's a birds singing in my head, a spring in my step. It's being willing to be of service. It's being in my body enough to be cognizant enough to be taking quiet time and doing the practices and my meditation to be able to, on the daily, on the regular, how may I be of service? And even the most difficult situations. It's about practicing gratitude, even when I don't feel grateful. And you see signs, like I'll find heart-shaped rocks and I see white Archangel Michael feathers and, you know, the lights turn green and, you know, you just feel that flow. It just is easy and it's grace flowy. I was chatting with another friend of mine while I was on a business trip in Chicago, and we were talking about flow and yoga poses and to not just go from one pose to the next, but the juiciness and the real, this is why I love triathlons, is transition. It's how does it look in between the swim and the bike? And what does it feel like between the bike and the run? And how graceful can you do it? I can swim really well, whatever, but then getting and transitioning is a different piece. And so, and doing it all with grace and being in flow in that yoga class from one position to the next and noticing the change in position and being grace flow in that way. So, those are the ways that I can feel grace. I can feel connection. I can feel the divine. And when I'm not, it's sticky and clunky and I take things so personally. That's a big one for me that I'm learning, that when I'm not, if I'm feeling like I'm taking things personally, there's piece missing somewhere.
Yeah. And I think that's such a key piece. That's such a key piece to start to identify what it feels like when you're not doing the work, when you're not where you're supposed to be, when you're not fully aligned with your inner voice, because that's sometimes almost easier to pay attention to when you're first starting.
Sure.
Because if you haven't spent a lot of time aligned, you haven't learned yet what that feels like and haven't really identified that. But the more time that you're there, and then when you come out, and this is the thing, right? We will come out.
Absolutely.
That's life. And
Yep.
I look at that as like another opportunity for me to understand how I can get back in that alignment, how I can listen again instead of beating myself up like I used to I used to beat myself up about stuff like that. And now it's just all about love and, like you said, flow, but paying attention to what it feels like to not be in alignment, to not be listening to that inner voice. I know for me, it's interesting that you say that you take things personally, because for me, I am so just like, I can't think of the right word, but I'm so like snappy. Like everything annoys me when I'm not aligned. And when I am truly in that space where I'm listening to my inner voice and I'm being the essence of me, the essence of who I am and who I know myself to be, I never feel that way. And so that's a big indicator for me too. So I think it's cool too that we have different ones, because it can really show people that when you start to pay attention to when you're feeling how you don't want to feel, and then that's going to help you understand that you're missing a piece at that point.
And oftentimes the easiest way for me to go back in is with gratitude. Just start I'm grateful for apples. B, I'm grateful for beautiful poodles, like whatever, or even just go and write 3 things down. Like that is when I step into gratitude, it's like the quickest backstage pass door to that feeling.
Yeah. And it's a total shortcut.
Yeah. And one of my superpowers is the ability to, because the other piece that I do when I'm not in alignment is I spend way too much time in my pantry. Like way too much time in my pantry looking for those salty crunchies and the gluten-free Tate's cookies, or, because I'm not connected. So I am out of alignment. And so there's something there and I need to dull the edge. So I notice that I'll find myself grazing too much. And one of sort of my superpowers is like, there's been plenty of times where, like you said, you fall out of grace, so to speak, and you trip. And I'm really good at, I guess now, maybe not so much. No, because I've always just tried. I never like to take no for an answer. If I fall, I get back up, I dust myself back off, and I look and I practice gratitude and I figure out, okay, now what's the next right step towards where I want to go?
I love that. It's like resiliency. That's what I would call that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good superpower. Because, it's constant. We trip, we fall, and then sometimes just stay down there for a couple of minutes or a couple of days and be like, wait. And, you have to go in and lick some of your wounds and hide under some blankets and nourish yourself with warm tea and, and have a good cry or get in the tub or, when we tried as women, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be so everything, and not only everything, but perfectly everything. And as a recovering perfectionist, it's a lot of work. And I remember seeing my mom crying out on the front porch when we were young, and she was in a big launch of her own through the Portland Symphony Orchestra show house event to something or other that she had, was involved in and leading, and, not unlike things that I do. And she would just felt so much pressure, and I never really got it as a kid. And as a grown up and as a woman who is running a business and running a family and, nourishing the world, it gets hard some days. And sometimes you just need to give yourself permission to just be sad or, be upset, but then have pieces in place and support systems and foundation and structure and cool fixer-upper style beams that are there to help support you so that you don't get stuck down there. And then you can say, okay, I've done that. Sunshine's coming out. Where's my vitamin D? Where's my vitamins? Give me some Rev 3. All right, let's do this. What's my next, where do I want to go? And what's my next inspired action step that I can take towards that? Yeah.
So I have a question for you about this idea that women, we're so prone to beating ourselves up, right? Like that's our default mode. Why do you think it's so much easier for us just to like berate ourselves and put ourselves down and beat ourselves up over something than just allow ourselves to be sad and move on?
I think that part of it is we are raised in a very masculine culture in terms of, I heard Deb Kearns at a USANA Street Retreat thing a month ago talking about lists of masculine and feminine qualities. So the masculine things were hardworking, dedicated, driven, passionate, like all of these forward-moving, strong, New England, put your head down, bear it. The harder you work, the more value you are. You know, I grew up running sprints and telephone poles and until you puked, and that wasn't until you puked that you had officially like done enough. And those are all really good skills. Like that discipline and that dedication and all of those sort of edgy masculine traits that our culture comes to really value in terms of what success looks like, are good because it gets me going. It gets me going. And I have that ability and that drive. But what I think and what is happening in our culture right now in terms of where we are as a society, I think the feminine is saying enough. And that's shifting. And as we move into the age of Aquarius and the stars and the moons and the way they're all aligning are shifting us into a more feminine, softer. It doesn't have to be hard. I was watching a tugboat out in the harbor the other day. And it's funny, tugs don't really tug, they push, which I thought was interesting. But I was watching this tugboat just push, like shoulder in, head down, just pushing this huge barge. And I thought it was just such an interesting metaphor for life because we feel like it has to be that hard. And I think women like you, women like me, women like those that we surround ourselves are on a mission to change that philosophy for our sons and our daughters. It can be soft and it can be graceful and it can be easy.
Yeah, I am so like in that right now. This idea that as women, our responsibility is to bring our most natural qualities forward. Right? So like for how long of my life did I struggle to push that side of me down and see it as weak and see it as not good enough and see it as not the part of me that's going to drive me forward. And like you said, our world today needs feminine leaders because that's how we're going to find balance. Right now, things are not balanced right now.
No. And one is not bad and one is not good. It is the yin and the yang. You know?
Exactly. We need both.
The balance. Yes.
Yeah. And I think so many women feel like in order to be successful, they have to adapt to this masculine world instead of showing up in their full feminine glory.
Nourish yourself for life, mama. Nourish yourself for life.
Well, so this brings me to a question, and not one that we talked about. And so I hope that this is okay. But how do you see yourself, Heidi Symonds, the Healthy Godmother, as a leader in this world?
I have always wanted to be a leader, and I feel like I am truly stepping into that role, that I understand what that role means so much and how to do it more effectively now more than ever in any other time in my life, whether it was president of the student council or the National Honor Society or whatever else was going on. But
I will lead anything that you let me lead.
It's so true. But I think that in this area, this is where that was what all this was practice was for me to be able to teach everyone, not just women, but, people how to embrace with grace. It's about showing up and it's about, taking care of yourself. And there are so many amazing people doing amazing things out there. And I love being able to feed them mind, body, soul in a way that allows them to show up for their most beautiful life. We all have a light within us. And that's another one of my superpowers, is that I can see, as a healthy godmother, I can see your light. Like, I see people's light. I see their heart. I see their excitement that is bursting from them, and I see their higher versions of themselves and all of their glory and glitter and sparkliness, in terms of like, you're on your way to the ball that is your life. Mm. And I want to help give people the tools to be able to show up and shine and let go, as Danielle Laporte would say. And I can lead by doing it myself, and I can lead by nourishing and by teaching. But in order to be able to nourish, I have to have a full cup. I have to have a full quiver. I have to be full. I have to have my own oxygen mask on first. I have to have that courage and that conviction and that resilience. And when I cultivate all of those things, I can then pour from my Kuan Yin elixir bottle and share in any way that I can. And it's, again, how may I serve? And it looks different every day.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge you, because on a very personal level, I feel that you do such an amazing job of acknowledging the women around you and the men, of saying to them, I see you. Mm. And I really believe that takes great courage in of itself, to call out what you see in other people, because you never know how much that person needed to hear that. How much that person needed to be acknowledged in that way. And I think that you really do an amazing job at that, Heidi. And I just want to acknowledge you in that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I do know that they need to hear it, because I know that I needed to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to see it in myself. And when I can see it in myself, then I can see it in others.
Right. And I think that's really the key, that we all have to see it in ourselves. We all have to start paying attention to the light that is within us. We all have to start figuring out what our natural born superpowers are. And when we start doing that, when we start connecting within, that's what's really going to create change for our own lives, but also for those around us. That's what's really going to move us forward in the way we all want to go. I mean, because let's face it, we all want to go forward. We're all seeking, greater alignment. We're all seeking more joy, more happiness every day. And this is the way to do it, is to start acknowledging what we have inside of us already. It's there.
And to stop objectifying ourselves.
Talk about that.
I was on the bus traveling for my business trip, and do you watch This Is Us?
I just started. I'm on like episode 8. Oh my gosh, I love it.
So good. And I don't actually even remember her name. But the girl twin.
Oh, I can't remember her name either.
I watch it, but I can't remember her name. And she's struggles with weight. They show her weight struggles from when she was a very little girl. And there's so many parts of me that can relate to her, and then there's some that can't. But there's a recent episode where she was on a plane and she was feeling uncomfortable, and she had to buy 2 seats, and all of the judgment that she felt around it, and having to have a seatbelt extender. And it was all this just really uncomfortable stuff. And while I have not experienced that, I do know what it feels like to travel in different sizes in my body. And it's so much more fun to get in an airplane seat when you feel like you have plenty of room, rather than when you're feeling a little more abundant and taking up more space. And so I was on the bus, and I felt like, not feeling very small in my body. And I was sort of starting to, beat myself up and do all this stuff. And I reached out to my amazing stylist to thank her for the suggested wardrobe because it was helping me feel cozy in that moment. And Carrie Montgomery, I think that you've actually had her on the show before. So we started talking about this. She said, stop objectifying yourself. And I was like, right. And she said, and I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but she said something along the lines of, see yourself from within the way others see yourself from the inside out as others see you from the outside in.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
And I just had to jump into her body for a minute, another superpower, jump into her body as a healthy godmother. I guess I can do that and look at myself through her eyes, look at yourself through God's eyes, look at yourself, through the universe's eyes, look at yourself through your guardian angel's eyes.
Yeah.
And what do you see? And then feel that from the inside out. And when you feel that on the inside out, it just burns off anything that could possibly be negative that is in your way of shining your truest light.
Right. I mean, and that's a true worthy practice, right? So what you're really talking about is seeing yourself as the essence of you. And, for me, what visualization works really well for me is I imagine holding my, newly born child and looking down at that tiny human that just came out of my body and thinking of how much I love them, how I would do anything for them, how worthy they are of all my love. Yet they've done nothing, right? They've done absolutely nothing except take a breath and scream, demanded food from you. They haven't done anything. In fact, they've caused you great pain and effort. In that moment, you would.
But they're nothing more perfect. They are God's light.
Anything, and we're still that. The essence of us is still the same. That worthiness is still there, and so doing more it doesn't add to our worthiness. Not doing something doesn't take away. And so that's really about seeing our true worth and our true value and know that, whatever our outside vessel looks like, it doesn't affect that. It doesn't add to it or take away from it. Because I think that a lot of people would say, oh, sure, being, in a shape that you don't want to be in doesn't take away. But I think that many people, even without realize, think, well, if you look really hot and toned and beautiful and you're a size 4, then that adds. So I think we have to be really cognizant of both sides of that and how we're viewing it. Because if we look at someone else and think that they're more valuable because of the way they look, that means that we are less valuable if we don't look that way.
Right.
So really digging into this idea of worth and its intrinsic value that never changes. It's always there from day 0, really, from the beginning of our lives.
Amen.
So let's change gears just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit. And I want you to talk about, what does it mean to nourish? What does that mean?
It is a sacred art. It is alchemy. It is taking regular, everyday ingredients, like a beautiful bar of lavender soap and a hot washcloth, or apples and kale and celery and a grapefruit and some cucumbers and putting it through the juicer and making juice, or squeezing lemon into your morning elixir to allow your gut to be set up for optimal digestion so that you can not only digest your food, but your life. It's filling up my own cup. It's filling up other people's cups. It's showing up on the set of a photo shoot, because I know that when you're in that kind of mode, taking care of yourself and having clean, easy, fast options hand delivered that you don't have to think about is not easy. But being able to show up and nourish a team with some pretty intensive dietary specialty needs in terms of no eggs, no gluten, no dairy, no nuts because of all the food allergies, and being able to nourish them and fill them up so that they can shine. And do their work. I mean, it's like leveraged nourishment, because as I nourish my clients so that they can shine, so that they can go out and change the world and help others shine.
Oh, so good. So good. So I feel like when it comes to nourishment, you are a goddess. I've experienced it myself. I've seen you nourish other people. And I really feel like you're someone who practices what you preach. Like, you're doing it. You're nourishing yourself daily. And so if you had to narrow it down to like your top 3, what would you say your top 3 daily nourishing practices are for you?
My morning elixir.
So can you tell us, is that like a secret recipe, or can you tell us?
It's not a secret recipe. It is on my website, thehealthygodmother.com. If you go to recipes, and then there's a little search button there. You can search liquid assets. But it's warm water, and sometimes I add green tea, sometimes I don't. And it's the juice from 3 or 4 lemon wedges. It's raw honey and a splash of Bragg's raw apple cider vinegar. And then I take that and go to my meditation quiet time, which is sometimes angel cards. It's sometimes a guided meditation. It's sometimes chanting. It's sometimes listening to music. It's sometimes just being in silence for a few minutes, and then I write. Sometimes I read, and then I do some sort of movement, exercise, yoga, qigong, like sun salutation kind of thing, 5-10 minutes. So it's about half an hour. If I could spend an hour doing it every day, so much better. But a half an hour minimum is really what I need to feel my best. But even if it's 5 minutes, it's better than nothing. So I take my morning elixir and I go and I find my cozy spot. My poodle usually ends up in my lap, and we have our time. And then the last thing at night, my gratitude practice of writing 3 things that I'm grateful for in my journal. And I, always end up writing more than 3 things because life is just abundant. But I also write down things that I am manifesting. So if it's something that I don't necessarily have already or that hasn't come to fruition, I practice gratitude for it as if it already has.
Oh, that's good.
And I write it down. It's like my order to the universe.
Yeah.
So,
if you guys heard that is such a good practice to add in. And I'm gonna make note of that too, because I think that our daily nourishing practices are actually very, very similar, Heidi. Especially the morning one. Although I do my gratitude practice also in the morning. Mm-hmm. But I love that idea of being in that energy of being grateful for things we haven't even received yet.
Feel it in your bones.
Yeah. That's when big things start to happen. That really puts us in that energy of expectation, right? Like, we expect good things to happen to us. We're already grateful for the good things that have happened to us and are to happen. Oh, this is so wonderful. So, in sort of winding up here, I feel like we could talk days and days and days about all of this beauty. But why don't you share with us about how you are really putting yourself out into the world as the Healthy Godmother, as a primetime nourisher, as an alchemist? I mean, what are you doing right now?
Right now, I am in the midst of a 6-week Happily Ever Healthy group program that is just comes with its supplements and skincare and diving deeper into redefining your relationship with food, redefining your relationship with yourself, and redefining your relationship with your environment, whether that be your pets, your direct family members, your job, whatever it is. And so that because it all kind of is integrative and it flows within itself and it's all connected to the knee bone. So just sort of expanding and looking at how do you redefine those relationships and talking about key pieces of nourishment and supplementation and dreamy self-care. I do Facebook Lives from a co-working multi-space here in Portland, Maine, every other Wednesday, where I then do a nourishment and networking workshop for the folks that work there, as well as come in from the outside, where I make protein bites and green juice. And we talk about inflammation, for example, and where does inflammation show up in your body and in your life and in your business, and how can you shift it? Because if it's in your business, you're going to find it in your body, and if it's in your body, you're going to find it in your business. So how do we get the fire extinguisher out and put it out with food and love and self-care? Blogging and recipes, and eventually down the road, there's going to be a Healthy Godmother deliciousness box. I don't know, nourishment box. We haven't figured out what it's going to be called, but I really want to be able to reach out and touch someone with my wand and my tools and my pixie dust. So looking at putting together a box so people can order things for that and have it either sent to them or to their home or to a friend. Or
I'm already grateful for that box.
I'm excited. That's going to be fall. We're going to sort of figure it all out and work on it over the summer. And then we're going to launch it in the fall with the Fall Happily Ever Healthy 6-week group program. And I also do one-on-one coaching on a limited basis. I have, right now I have room for one more client at the moment, but it's such intensive work. My one-on-one work is not to drive through. It is white glove, come in, get comfortable, get cozy. As much as we're looking for a quick fix and the magic pill, there isn't one. Although through being a health coach, I have a lot of people asking me, what supplements do I take, or what do I take for vitamin D? So I've partnered with USANA Health Sciences, and it's been amazing in terms of the opportunities and fun that I get to have in terms of being able to be part of that company and recommend their services and their products and the community that comes along with it. And so that's another fun way that I like to sprinkle my fairy dust and show people how to optimally nourish themselves, and I think inside out and the outside in.
That's such a good lesson that we all need. It's important. And when you're nourishing your body in the way that it's asking you to, you are also nourishing your connection to your body. You're nourishing your connection to your inner voice. And that is so powerful, as we've heard in your story, Heidi. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. I'll have all the links in the show notes page over at kellycovert.com. So you guys can head on over there and click the podcast tab, and you will see the show notes for this page with the links. And I'll link you to Heidi's social media. I believe you're the Healthy Godmother on everything, right, Heidi?
I am Healthy Godmother on Facebook and Instagram. Heidi Symonds 11 on Twitter. Mm-hmm. The Healthy Godmother is too many characters for Twitter, so we haven't worked that one out yet.
Yeah.
And I can send you the link for the morning elixir so they don't have to go find it. So I can put that link in there.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Yes.
And I'll even include the link for my Better Than Chia Chai latte that I'm enjoying right now too. So
I might have to make that for myself today. Because it's just so that kind of a day. Well, yes. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today on In Her Voice. Your voice adds so much to this world and everything that you do. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And I know our listeners are going to love this. So thank you, Heidi.
Oh, you're welcome. It was an honor, a joy, a pleasure. And anytime I will sit down, talk this stuff with you, because I am equally as grateful for having
Fantastic.
you in my life.
I'm going to take you up on that.
Let's do it.
All right, my love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you guys loved that interview as much as I did. I just feel like this idea of nourishing ourselves so that we can nourish others is so powerful. And I'm looking forward also to integrating that amazing gratitude practice for the things yet to come in my own life. And I hope that you guys can do that too. So I want to say thank you. I am grateful for each and every one of you that are listening to In Her Voice. Thank you for all that you are doing. Thank you for what you are bringing into this world each and every day. And if In Her Voice is something that you're really enjoying, please make sure that you subscribe over in iTunes and leave a rating and review. That really helps other people find In Her Voice so we can spread the word about how important it is to connect with that inner place of wisdom that is right inside of us already. And I always want to take this moment to acknowledge you, to let you know that you matter and that you are needed. We need you in this world doing what you were born to do. So take that with you today and always, knowing that you are worthy and that you matter.